Well, our breaking news now, and the energy price cap will rise to £3,549 from the 1st of October. This is for those paying by direct debit.
Of course, it can be more if you're on a prepayment meter.
Yeah.
Now, Labour say they would have frozen the energy price cap at the previous level of £1,971 and paid for it with an extension of the windfall tax on the profits from oil and gas companies. So, do they have a plan now the cap is set to rise? Well, joining us now is Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves. So, you had a plan for what it was before. We now know where it is. What would be your plan for that, first of all?
Well, good morning, and thank you very much for having me on your show. As you say, in the last half an hour, we have heard the frankly devastating news that prices are going to go up to over £3,500. The plan that Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, announced just 2 weeks ago was based on this sort of price increase because we've known that this was coming. And under Labour's plans, we would freeze gas and electricity prices for the autumn and winter months. That would cost £29 billion, and we would fund that through a variety of measures, including a big extension of the windfall tax on the enormous profits that North Sea oil and gas companies are making. That is the right and fair thing to do, and this is what Labour would be doing if we were in government now.
OK, but it's not going to go away, is it? There are predictions of increases in January and also continuing again in April. One of the predictions we've got, one of the lower predictions actually, is 5,000 odd going up to. There are higher predictions out there. And so if you kept it at that level and extended it beyond there for a year, that would cost as much as furlough. So a nice idea, people might be thinking this morning, but actually, how far are we going to need to go? And is that costed?
So we've put forward a package for the next 6 months because we've got a great degree of certainty about where gas and electricity prices will be over the next 6 months. And so we've been able to come up with that fully costed and funded package of measures. But you're right to say we don't know where things are going to be by April, and prices may be even higher then. I think you can see from Labour's track record over the last year, when I've been constantly calling for the government to take more action when it comes to gas and electricity bills and do more to tax the excess profits being made by some of these big oil and gas companies, that we will continue to stand by ordinary people to help them with their bills.
But how? By spending 100 billion, you know, by spending the same as furlough? And where would that leave us?
We've set out a £29 billion package in the last couple of weeks to get us through until April. That takes us 8 months from now, and we'll see where prices are in April. But let me just also add this, because this is important. We've also set out a plan to insulate the 19 million homes that don't meet a basic energy performance level. That would take £400 off people's bills, not just for 1 year, but for years to come. We've also announced a green energy sprint to invest in homegrown renewables so we are less reliant on North Sea oil and gas. Those are some of the measures that are needed to get us beyond...
I mean, insulating 19 million homes is going to take quite a long time, and actually £400 is an awful lot. But can I just pull up on your £29 billion figure, the full fact website, and also the Institute of Fiscal Studies has said you've got that wrong. You're about £5 billion short. Have you done your maths properly?
Look, I worked at the Bank of England before I became an MP. I'm confident of my maths. Our package is worth £29 billion. That includes the price freeze for 6 months, as well as getting rid of those excess charges that you pay if you're on a prepayment meter. We would fund that in 3 ways. First of all, we would bring in an extra £8 billion through an extension of the windfall tax, backdating that to January, when I first said that the government should do it, and also getting rid of the investment allowance that would see £4 billion handed back to oil and gas companies by taxpayers. Second, through repurposing some of the money that government have already announced to help people with their gas and electricity bills. And third, because our measure would directly reduce inflation, that would reduce the debt service costs that government have to pay on government debt but to the tune of £7 billion. You add that up, that reaches the £29 billion based on the forecasts that we've got for prices, both in October and for January. I'm confident about my numbers, but most of all, I'm confident that this will make a real difference to families and pensioners who are worried sick about what's happening to their gas and electricity bills and just don't understand why government are saying nothing about it.
OK. Rachel Reeves, thanks for joining us. I know you've got to go. Worth reminding, the Institute of Fiscal Studies will disagree with those figures, but hey, they've got some kind of plan.